Just a second.
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay. Welcome and thank you everyone for joining our meet. We try to have them weekly as possible, and once a month we strive to have speaker series. But this one is a joint event with Russian speaking women in Silicon Valley, Okamina. That's where the original question came up about women and executive presence and what it is and what do you do with it. And Lala has graciously raised her hand, offering to do the introduction and answer questions. And as we shape the event, to walk through some pearls of wisdoms, as she shared earlier. For those who are not aware, not familiar with Lala, she's an amazing human being. Has a fantastic career. She served as an executive, built out the teams, customer success, technical support, and knowledge management teams at various organizations. And the last few years, she's focusing on helping those organizations hire the best talent and develop and scale. I will share more details maybe after the event, how to get in contact, or maybe Lala, you have it in your presentation. Sorry.
You can keep going. You can keep going. I love listening about myself.
I mean, I don't. I can fill up a full hour talking about you.
Dive right in. I don't have a presentation because what I'm going to be talking about is a very super high level summary of about a week-long full-time training coaching session, or once a month full weekend for 6 to 12 months executive presence for women coaching that I first have been a part of, and then I was privileged enough to be presenting at. So I wanted to give you a super high level understanding of what I'm going to be talking about, and feel free to reach out to me. I will send you my contact info. I have a career success coaching business along with my support strategy business. I'm more than happy to help people in our community free of charge on an ad hoc basis. So feel free to reach out to me if you are interested in more extended engagement. We can talk about this. But here is what I want to talk about. There are 5 key elements. And if you go to Google or ChatGPT, they probably will give you the same answer. What are the 5 characteristics of executive presence? Confidence, professionalism, communication skills, strategic vision, authenticity. And then things kind of start falling apart because nobody can quite articulate what it means other than just a high level summary bumper sticker ideas. And I have lived through this, and I have discovered a lot of that, as I said, by trial and error, by watching people do the right things, or more often watching people not do the right things, and taking a lot of academic classes. So here is my distillation. It's by no means the only answer, but that's the answer that I found and works for me, and also works for people I have been mentoring and coaching. So let's start with the confidence. What is confidence? I think that is the single most important element of the executive presence. What is executive presence in the first place? It's an ability to make a difference in the organization. It's an ability to influence people and make a difference. It doesn't mean that you have to be an executive. It doesn't mean that you have to have a large team. It is really who you are. And the first element of having an executive presence is feeling superbly confident. If you gain that one element out of the conversation today, that would be absolutely awesome. But I will just give a very, very high level perspective. Confidence is a very strong sense of who you are, It is projecting authority because you know what you're talking about and you speak with the conviction of knowing who you are and why you're saying it. So there is no room for hesitation, ambiguity. Maybe perhaps it is projecting who you are. But how do you project who you are if you don't really know who you are? But what makes you confident? And what makes you confident is succeeding at being like the best you. You cannot be confident about something that you are not familiar with, that you are not directly involved in, that you don't believe in, that you haven't lived through. You can kind of BS your way through an interview. But you cannot project confidence if it's not built on the real thing. So it's just who you are. You have to project confidence because you know who you are. So what is the best you? That's the part of my work with mentoring and coaching and my direct reports or people I mentor outside of work or my daughter for that matter. What do you love to do? If you had absolutely every resource in the world and the salary is not an issue, what would you love to do and why? And it's very important to keep asking the questions why. So you would want to live, I don't know, you would want to live on the beach. Why? Why would you want to live on the beach? What is it about the beach lifestyle that calls to you? Why would you want to be doing it for a long period of time? What does it give you? How does it feed you? So you begin by having this high level picture of being on a beach, sipping on a mojito, but why do you want to do that? And is this really what you want to do? Or maybe it's just something that is a nice distraction, but is it something that you want to do for the rest of your life? Is it something that will bring out the best in you? So what is it that you love to do? If you didn't have to worry about pay, what would you be doing? What are the moments when you look back in the past 10, 15 years? What were the moments at work when you felt the most needed, the most excited, the most fulfilled? When were you feeling to be in the flow? When were you feeling that you're doing the best work? Have you ever had that experience? Maybe it's not at work. Maybe it is in your personal life. Maybe it's in your hobby. I love writing and I love academic work, which is part of what I do. For me, being in the flow is being lost in the process of research and writing and analyzing, and the time just stops. All that exists is my screen and my thought, and I am capturing my thoughts and I'm creating some order out of chaos. I'm finding the patterns, I'm finding the big picture in the analysis. And that feeds me, that makes me feel alive, that makes me feel fulfilled. Is this the only time I feel like that? No, I just came back from a road trip. I'm a serious amateur landscape photographer. So I went down to the Central Valley to photograph wildflowers, which are incredible. And that was exactly the same feeling of being in the flow. So I was standing there on the floor of the plane, watching the flowers. The light was changing. I was finding the right. I wasn't thinking about technical aspects. I was just totally lost in the moment, but being my true authentic self, because that was exceptionally fulfilling to me. That is my flow. So the other situation where I feel like that is when I am coaching people and when I'm helping them with their career or world life challenges. Again, it makes me feel fulfilled, it makes me feel in the flow. It makes me feel that I do my best work. So when I look back at the types of jobs I did, and when I succeeded most, I'm able to distill 3 or 4 examples of being my best self. One of them is when I'm coaching people and watching them grow and watching them thrive because I can give them something that I have discovered, and I just seeing the aha moments is totally fulfilling. It is also making order out of chaos, looking at like the whole bunch of data and making sense of it, and being able to present a strategic direction. So that's me. But I have to go back and look at my past years of my work life and my academic life and my personal life to identify these moments. What do I love to do? And then I think of how I can maximize that. What kind of job opportunities, what kind of projects can I find in my work that will allow me to be best me? Not do something that I'm okay at or that I can totally do and get paid for, but does it bring out the best in me? It doesn't mean that you cannot succeed if you don't have your dream job. There is really no such thing as a dream job, but in every job, you can find those elements that bring out the best in you. And that is where you project confidence, because you know this is your thing, you know that you're really good at. So you have to find that thing and cultivate it and build your personal brand around it. What are your natural talents? There is a methodology, there are multiple methodologies of identifying your strengths. I'm a big proponent of strength-based leadership. I can send a link to a couple of books that I recommend, but it's important to understand who you are and what your strengths are, because you can maximize what you're good at and not try to be better at something that is really not your thing. Like, I'm not naturally the most organized person in the world. So being like a librarian is not, I love books, but that's just not something that will feed my passion of being structured and logical. And I can force myself to do that, but that's really not what will make me comfortable and confident, because it is not feeding my deep personal drive. So what am I best at? What is it that you can do that nobody else around you can do as well as you do? And how can you get better at it? The work that you're doing right now, is this most important work that you could be doing with who you are and what you can give back? There is never going to be enough time to do everything. You always have more stuff on your plate that you can do. So how can you structure your day so you do more of what you're best at and not struggling with something that you're not best at? Because you cannot be confident unless you're doing the work that you're proud of, that you are feeling you're best at. Not necessarily the best in the world. You're not like the champion of the world in Microsoft project, but knowing what you're good at and building that and building reputation around this. And the more confident you present yourself, the more people around you understand that that is who you are, that is what you're good at. So how do you, yes.
Sorry, go ahead. I just wanted to seize the moment and ask you a question. You mentioned to get started identifying what you're good at. Mm-hmm. Some of us may not have the best view of our skills. I'm guilty of that. I get feedback that I'm really good at something and I don't feel that I am. How can someone get started just really identifying their strengths? Can you give a couple of?
So you start by, my favorite method is this strengths-based survey. It's developed by, currently it's owned by Gallup. It's Now Discover Your Strengths. It's built on that book by Buckingham. I will send you a link. It's a survey, and it tells you, based on really solid science, what are your strengths. And then you look at the strengths and you match it to what you do. And then you begin thinking, am I really investing my energy into something that I can be so much better, or I'm just swimming against the tide trying to get marginally better at something that is really not my strength? So why should I be investing time and energy into something that is not my strength. So a friend of mine had this expression: you can teach a cow to climb a tree, but you're better off hiring a squirrel. So you can train yourself to do pretty much anything, but you will only be good at something that is matching your natural strengths. And once you understand the strengths, you believe in yourself, and then others will see that you succeed at that. It's not like a 5-minute conversation, and I will be happy to talk to each of you separately about this. You can set aside like 35-40 minutes and maybe have you take the assessment, and then we can discuss what it actually means in reality. But you believe in yourself because now you will have this list of things that you are really exceptional at, and you have to build it. But it's important to not try to go against your nature and push yourself into something that you will be okay, but why waste that time if you could have taken it to be exceptional at something? So understanding what that something is. And there is a level of ubiquity about those strengths, because the strengths are not unique to a specific job title or even a career. You can apply the strengths in many, many various areas. And in your job today, you can find the areas where you succeed and excel. So prioritizing those elements of your work and demonstrating your value is the key to having you feel successful, because you're doing what you're really naturally good at. You're cultivating your strengths and you are growing them in the area where it's natural to you, right? You can plant roses in a desert. They'll spend a lot of time and energy watering them, and they will still never be as beautiful as if they were growing in, Pacific Northwest garden. It's possible, but why spend all this time and energy at something that is not your strength? And I'm so familiar with this whole imposter syndrome. I'm not as good. I'm not good enough. You are. You just need to understand what that is and then cultivate it and focus on it. And that's where your confidence comes through. And it's not the confidence of a kind of blowhard. There's a lot of guys who are super confident, and their confidence not based on anything other than just being a loud white guy. The confidence, the quiet confidence that's built on the strengths, will always win. And then the next step is, how do you make people see the value that you bring? By speaking with confidence, because you know what you're talking about, because you invested time in cultivating this. So if you look at the scope of work that you do, and then you look at your strengths and you identify the areas where you can make a breakthrough, and then you invest time and energy into building that. So classes, certifications, books, meetups, conferences, any opportunities to stand out in your field that you feel strongly about, that you are confident. And every step you take makes you more confident, because it's building. And then you establish yourself as a thought leader in a particular area. It may be a wide area, it might be a narrow area, but if you invest time into this, and if it maps to your natural ability, you can do it. Regardless of the type of the work that you do, you can always find something where you can build that area. Even if it's not in like your job description, you can still identify ways to find something to shine and build that one or two aspects that you're really strong at. Build that strength. It's an exercise, it's a muscle. So the more you do it, the better you are. But you speak with confidence because you have belief in the fact that this is the best you, that this is what you're naturally inclined to do, and you have invested time and energy into polishing this into a beautiful diamond, or I don't know. Diamonds are not in vogue anymore. But confidence, a combination of knowing who you are, knowing what your strengths are, knowing how you can build them and grow, and knowing how you can demonstrate them to people. This is the first and the most important step. And you cannot get anywhere if you don't have that. You can kind of muddle along. You can get promotions, you can get salary increase, but if you are not, and I don't want to sound corny like those new age things, but like if you're not bringing your true self to it, you cannot be fully successful because you're not being true to yourself. So what is the one thing or two things that you do that you can do better than anybody else in your group, in your team, your company, your family, whatever that is? You have to identify that. And there is, well, everybody has that. Just need to think about it. And you think about it by going back through your past and identifying those moments of joy, of flow, of things when you feel, you come home after work and you feel fulfilled. You feel like you had a great day. Maybe it's not work, maybe it's something else like marathon or whatever, but it's all transferable. The skills that a marathon runner has are entirely transferable to work environment and vice versa. So it's just finding those connections and having people see value. And they will see value because you speak with confidence, and you speak with confidence because you know what you're worth, you know what you're really good at. It's work. It's not something that I will, talk to you for 45 minutes and then in the morning you will walk in with full confidence. It's something that you have to work on. It's a muscle. Confidence is a muscle. So element number one is confidence. Number two is professionalism. Professionalism is such a all-encompassing word. It can be your appearance, like how do you come across, how do you dress, how do you set up your work environment, whether you have several cats sitting on your desk. In some environments, it's considered to be a big plus. In some environments, it's not. It's what professionalism means in your line of work, in your culture, in your vertical, in your industry. More importantly, being professional is being respectful, caring, courteous, and ethical. And that means not committing to something that you know you will never be able to deliver. It means not taking on assignments that you know you cannot do a really good job at. Just because somebody gave you a task doesn't mean that you have to say yes. If you know that it will be in conflict with something that you're already doing and will impact negatively what you are really good at, that's a good opportunity to say no. And that's a very professional thing to do. Multiple ways of doing it. You can come to your manager and say, well, I'm really happy that you thought I would be of value in doing this thing, and I would be totally happy to do this, but these are the 7 other priorities that I have on my desk, that I have on my plate. So to do justice to this next task, I need to take off something here. Here is my thought. I'm really good at this 1, 2, 3, 4. I could probably redirect or postpone number 5 or 6. If this number 7 that you just brought me is important and strategic, I can take it on, but then I would have to put something on the back burner. You cannot just say yes and take on more work, because the more work you take, the less energy and time and brain cycles you have to develop to dedicate to each one of those tasks. So you will be kind of failing at 6 items instead of succeeding at 4. So ability to say no is part of being professional. Saying, sure, I will do that is unprofessional. So you have to protect the value that you bring to the team, the value that you bring to the table by giving your best effort. And you cannot give your best effort if you're spread thin, like there is this expression, peanut buttering. I don't know if you heard about that, but it's imagine a piece of bread and then you take a jar of peanut butter out of the freezer or refrigerator and try to spread it over the bread, and you get the bread is crumbling and the peanut butter is thin, and it's not a very appealing sandwich. So you really should. I actually don't know how to make a good peanut butter sandwich, so I'll just stop at that. But don't spread yourself too thin. Don't take on tasks just because somebody thought that you should be doing it. If you want to succeed, you have to pick and choose, and there are ways of doing it in a respectful, professional way. So I would call it stop doing low value work. Stop doing the low value work. Everything that you do, you should be looking at from the perspective of what is the most important thing I should be doing right now? What is the most important work that will make a difference that I could be doing right now? And it's different for everybody, and it ties back to your strength. What is the most important thing I should be doing right now, given who I am, what I know, what my background is, what my experience is, where my passions are, where I can make the most difference. And there is always somebody whose passion is in those other 2 things that are not top priority for you. They will excel at that. That will be their time to shine. So finding that opportunity to distribute work. Sometimes you're in a position where you can do it yourself. You can just pick and choose. Sometimes you're in an environment where you're given tasks. But again, making a case to your chain of command that the best use of your talent is to do this is an art and a science, but that's how you succeed. And that's part of having that executive presence, because you're managing your own strategic value. So that's what executive does. Elon Musk thinks that it's super important for him to do like the code review and personally approve the blue marks. That is not my understanding of what executive presence is, and he's not particularly good at it. So let's not be like Elon Musk. Let's prioritize our efforts and strength at something that only we can do, and defer code review to somebody else. And don't fire that person, by the way. So stop doing low value work. To sound like a leader, think about what you say, how you say, and when you say it. It's part of being a professional. To have credibility and influence people, you have to be very succinct and concise about what you're saying. So everything that you say in a meeting or in a one-on-one or any kind of business environment conversation it has to have a purpose. Like, why are you saying all this? Where are you going with it? What is the ask? What is the call to action? So if you're speaking up at the meeting, why? There are people who speak up just because they love to listen to themselves. We all worked with people like that. And they would just never shut up. And these people are mostly in sales, but not always. That's the type of personality. They are very successful in some areas, not so successful in others. If that is who you are, that's fine, but understand that about yourself. And also, as an extrovert that loves to hear themselves think, you have to talk. You have to think about whether what you're saying is adding value or it's just taking up space and time. So be clear as to why you are talking and you're speaking. So there's a formula, bottom line up first. It applies to business writing and also to business communication. So you make a point first, like where are you going with this? You name it. And then you provide arguments and examples, and then you conclude with reiterating why you're making this. So if you start your speech or your email or your presentation by loading up on facts and then leading the person to the conclusion that you have arrived at, you already lost your audience. You lost an opportunity to make them focus on your point because you haven't made that point up front. So part of being professional is being able to articulate where you're going with this and why. So people actually listen to you and don't just flow away into their own mind or check Facebook or catch Pokemon. To sound like a leader, think about what you say, why you say it, and when you say it. And be absolutely certain as to what your point is. Like, what can you stop? Can you just summarize, like, where you're going with this? Don't give this whole long preamble, waiting the person to try to figure out on the fly what is that you're trying to say. You have to state. And when I coach people, I always think of this example of some high quality courtroom shows that we have on the TV or in the books, where this really brilliant attorney will stand in front of the jury, and what is the first thing that they say? That is, gentlemen of the jury, my client is not guilty because and I will prove to you that he is not. So he made his point, or she made her point up front. And then you build your case and then you summarize it. You don't just start by giving the circumstances of the case and all the situations and the alibis and the clues, and then lead to the conclusion. You start by knowing where you're going with this conversation. So you make your point. You know how to say it, you know when to say it, and then you sound convincing and professional, and it's part of the executive presence. Another element of being professional is staying calm under pressure, which is easier said than done. But all of the elements that I'm talking about today, they work together. You cannot stay calm on a pressure cooker if you're not confident that you know what to do. And you will not know what to do unless you are doing it from experience and skills and practice. Even if it's something that you have never done before, you can draw on something that similar that you have done, and you will be able to find your way to the victory. You cannot. In fact, it's even better to have kind of a fresh perspective and be able to build on your past experience and charter a course to something new that you haven't done before. It's fine. Nobody is born with the experience of doing everything. So everything that everybody does, from the junior frontline employee to the CEO, they learned to do along the way. Some of them did it better than others. And part of that is being aware of those elements of executive presence. It's the confidence, it's professionalism. And part of professionalism is not doing low value work, sounding like a leader, knowing when and what to say and why, and being calm under pressure. Number 3 is communication skills. Every time there is a conversation about executive presence or communication skills, especially in our community with Ukraina, which is Russian-speaking women, people always default to accents. Like, oh, how can I fix my accent? It's nothing to do with accent. There is a lot of high level, very powerful, very charismatic leaders who have accents, whose English is not their first language, and yet they have all the other elements, and you don't have to have a perfect accent. What you have to have is communication skills. And communication skills are absolutely essential in influencing people and getting things done, because you can only get things done through other people, right? You are not, unless you're like on the assembly line and you're just like screwing some parts at a Tesla shop. You're working through other people, so you need to be able to communicate to them and to convince them to work with you and allow you to do your best work. And you do it by allowing them to do your best work. For women, there are several specific aspects that are pretty much typical for women that they need to work on more than anybody else. And number one is saying, I'm sorry. Starting a conversation with, I'm sorry. Opening your statement with, I'm sorry. Saying, I'm sorry. You're in a meeting and somebody said something, and then you would say, I'm sorry, can you repeat this? Well, are you really sorry? You're not. You're just saying it because it's expected. You think it's polite, but don't say something that you don't mean. You're not sorry. You're entirely in your right to interrupt the speaker. You're entirely in your right to ask the question. Why should you say, I'm sorry? Confidence, communication skills is not using those fillers, those polite sounding things, because they're completely irrelevant. They're using up time that you have much better use for, as in making your point, presenting yourself as an expert, having a conversation, which is why you are beginning to ask this question to begin with. So just eradicate I'm sorry from your vocabulary. Unless you stepped on somebody's foot, it's okay to say I'm sorry in that case, but not in a business conversation. Don't start by saying I'm sorry, because the only reason to say I'm sorry if you're truly sorry. If you're not truly sorry, don't say it. Same applies to I'm not sure, but there's absolutely no value in having that I am not sure, but it's not adding anything to the conversation. It's not adding anything to your point. So why are you saying it? Forget that. So you can state something. If you're not certain that that is the exact answer, you can say, to the best of my knowledge, this is the answer, but I will double check and get back to you tomorrow. And then you double check and get back to them tomorrow. Don't start by saying, I'm not sure. State something, then state your level of confidence in this, and tell people how you will go about increasing your level of confidence if that is what is needed in this circumstance. So it's perfectly fine to say, I don't know. I'll find out and get back to you, but make sure to tell them when you will get back to them and then actually do that. That's also part of communication skills and being a professional. Another thing is, that's just my 2 cents. Why? Why are you valuing your input at 2 cents? Maybe it's 8 cents, and maybe it's $1.50. By saying that, you're diminishing your input. You are trying to be less than you are. You're trying to be less pushy, less aggressive, less significant. So that's another thing to get rid of. That's just my 2 cents. No. And by the way, the word just is another one. When you start by saying, I just wanted to remind you, or I just wanted to make a point, what does that just tell you? It tells people that you're not confident, that you are, again, just like trying to be smaller than you really are. You're trying to be inoffensive, non-aggressive, small. You are making yourself shrink. So don't say just. Your words just are equally important to everybody else's words, and what you're saying is as important as the next person said and the previous one. So why would you start by saying just? That's another more typical of women than not. Doesn't mean that men don't do that, but just like statistically. Same with kind of, sort of, I guess, like sounding uncertain. You can make a statement to the best of your knowledge, as long as you qualify that that's to the best of your knowledge. And you are as certain of that now as you will be in 5 minutes. If something changes that makes you change your position, your opinion, your course, that's fine. You can always go back and say, no, upon further consideration, I realized that the better option would be to do this. But saying, I kind of think it would be the best way of going about it is this, I guess. But that's just my 2 cents. Just no. And another one that's my personal peeve is I'll try. You will either do it or you will not do it. What's the point of trying? Nobody hired you to try something. People hire you to do the work. So don't say I will try. If people are asking you like, when are you going to be able to deliver this? You don't say, well, I'll try to get it done by Wednesday. Instead, you say, my plan is to get it done by Wednesday. And if I run into trouble, if I need more information, I'll get back to you. Or if I'm running into obstacles, I will come and discuss it with you. But I will try to get it done by next Wednesday is never a good statement. It does not project confidence and it does not project executive presence. It just makes you appear kind of uncertain, and you cannot be projecting executive presence if you're not uncertain. That's just completely incompatible. Okay, so I will run really quickly through the 2 remaining items. Strategic vision. Strategic vision is about being able to see the big picture. It is not what is important in the moment. It's an ability to think about what may be important and what are the downstream implications tomorrow, further down the road, whether it's your personal work, your decisions that you're making, your family decisions, the business suggestions. Sometimes you can make a decision that is the best decision in the moment, but if you think about the downstream and what will happen next, that is not the best decision. We're now going through the pandemic of layoffs. In most cases, not all, but most cases, it is what I call performative layoffs. There is absolutely no business reason to have the layoffs other than that's what's expected of the company in this quarter because of the pressure of the Wall Street, and by everybody else is doing it, so we should be doing it. In some cases, that's the right thing to do. There are companies that are bloated and just were hiring irresponsibly, but many companies haven't, and yet they're doing the same thing. They are making a tactical decision that will harm them down the road because they're not looking at the big picture. Maybe they are not allowed to, just different market pressures, but having the ability to think strategically, set goals that are beyond today and tomorrow, and create a sense of purpose for yourself, for people that you're working with, for the organization. Again, you don't have to be a VP or a leader or even a manager. Understanding where you go, where you're going, and where you want the team to go, and how you can contribute to the success is part of being strategic, and you can do it at every level. Understanding the context of the business. Why is the company doing what it is doing? And it's not because it's run by incompetent people. It's hardly ever the case that it's just the stupid management who have no idea what they're doing. That's not the case. There is always a reason why they're doing it. It may not be a good reason, but trying to understand that reason, trying to understand the strategic context of the industry would be really helpful for you to succeed and also build that executive presence. So it's the I already referred to the asking whys. There is you're asking why multiple times. It's actually called 5 whys. Like, why is the company making this decision? Because they have to cut costs. But why do they have to cut costs? Because and then you keep asking until you get to the bottom of it. So in some cases, it would be because the company made a bet on this particular product becoming more prominent, but people actually did not find a lot of value. So now it's Metaverse or Alexa, a whole bunch of other technologies that people thought would be the next great thing, but it's not. Maybe it's just not the right time. But keep asking yourself, why is the company doing this? Why are other people doing it? It's part of being strategic. And authenticity is the most, is the hardest to nail, but it's also the easiest to see. You always can tell if somebody's authentic or not. And all of that, all of the 5 pieces have to be there, have to be present. You cannot have executive presence, successful executive presence, if you don't have authenticity and communication skills and strategic vision and all of that together. So you cannot be authentic if you're not confident in yourself, and you're not confident in yourself if you're not professionals. It's all part of the same system. You cannot just focus on one and maybe in 2 years focus something else. You always have to keep all 5 elements together. Authenticity is being true to yourself. So I'm coming back to where I started from, like, who are you? What are you good at? Where do you do your best work? How can you structure your life and your day to do more of that best work and less of the low value work? How are you able to be yourself? Because that's what authenticity means. It's being yourself, but you have to understand who you are to be true to yourself. And it includes the willingness to be vulnerable, to make mistakes, to admit to mistakes, and have compassion to others who make mistakes. Admitting mistake is something that is just so hard for people to do, because they feel that, well, first of all, they don't know how. And they're afraid that it will make them look weak, but in fact, it's not. It's always so much better to get ahead of the blame game by admitting mistake, and then telling people what you will do to fix it, than trying to deny and stonewall and say, no, nothing bad is happening. It will all be okay. Everything is going according to the plan. Admitting mistakes is part of being authentic, is part of willingness to be vulnerable and relating to people on a vulnerable level. So yes, I trust you enough to admit my mistake. And I trust that you will not take advantage of me. And we will work together to fix it. And I will work to restore your confidence. And here's what I will do. And then in 3 months, I will come back to you, tell you what I have done, and confirm with you that this is working, that is going in the direction that you want. So that's admitting mistake. That's also part of, being able to deliver apology. It's not just, I'm sorry. It's never, I'm sorry. It's, I understand the harm that I did or my actions led to. Here's what I learned from this experience. Here is what I will do to fix this. And here is what I will do to avoid it in the future. And I will come back to you and we will discuss whether it's going the way I wanted to go, or we will make a course correction. Okay. And finally, it's my mantra that I will not get tired of repeating. Always assume good intent. Always assume that the people are doing something out of good intent. They may not be correct. They may not know how to do what they're trying to do out of their best intent, and you can help them. But you start by assuming good intent, unless it has been proven beyond a reasonable doubt that this person is actually bad, evil person that is incapable of being part of a civilized society or an organization. But in 99% of the cases, if you assume good intent, you will have much better outcomes. And it will reinforce your sense of confidence, because it's so much easier actually to live assuming good intent than to trying to discern double meaning in what people are saying, and some hidden motives and some conspiracies or some backstabbing. Oh, did he say it because he just wanted to make me feel bad? Well, you know what? People usually don't walk around thinking about how to make your life miserable. So if something that they did made your life miserable, it's not because that was their intent. So let's figure out why. And sometimes it takes courage to actually go up to the person and say, you know, when you said this thing in a meeting that made me feel that you don't trust my decision making. And I wanted to discuss with you how I can build that confidence. So next time you will be more confident in my decision making, and work around this. And I have multiple examples from my own personal life when I was beginning to go down the wrong way, what the person was totally aggravating, to the point where I couldn't be in the same meeting with that person, until I stopped myself and said, well, why is she doing that? Is she doing it to wake up in the morning and say, how can I make Lala's life miserable? Probably not. So let me try to unravel this. And I was able to have a one-on-one conversation with her over martinis, and I explained how her words come across to me, which she never thought that would be the case. And it was just a lot of stuff that was sitting on top of some hurt feelings. And that was like the big moment when I realized that assuming good intent makes it so much easier for everybody, and easier for you. And it's so much better to live your life with positive outlook than just looking around your shoulder and expecting somebody to stab you in the back, because it's hardly ever happens. Not doesn't mean that it doesn't, but there are so many discussions in our Ukamina group and in other forums that I'm part of, where people are trying to find why is this person trying to harm me or hurt me or do something bad to me or steal from me. It's like, but just don't waste time on that. Try to find common language and see what they're trying to achieve, and explain to them what you're trying to achieve, and find this common ground where you can do it together better than continuing to fight and expect her to try to undermine you, because it's usually not the case. So that's all I had, and I wanted to leave 15 minutes, but I can stay a few minutes more, so if you have questions. And also, if I don't have time to answer them live, I will be happy to respond to them in writing.
That's great. Thank you so much, Lola. So I think we can start the recording, just to have the questions addressed, right?
I can take a few questions live, and then if people can either message me or message through you, and I would love to be able to share my answers with everybody, so it's not just like the one-on-one conversation. Okay. So if somebody's asking a question, it's likely others have that same question.
Yeah, I will encourage people. I always encourage attendees to post in the group wherever they saw the event, so we can have a larger discussion, and maybe, you know, somebody who hasn't attended the event, they can learn. So I'll stop the recording. Thank you so much, Lola. I appreciate your time, and everybody's attending it, and we can take the questions in a non-recorded format.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay.